Welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be exploring Grant Cardone's Sell or Be Sold and trying to extract some practical wisdom for this book for you.
Oh, it's so fascinating how Cardone really positions selling as not just, a job or profession, but an absolutely essential life skill that transcends any specific career path.
Like it's more about succeeding in any aspect of life, right? Not just being good at, stereotypical sales.
Exactly. The book's foundation rests on the premise that each of us is constantly selling in a way.
Whether we realize it or not.
Yes, whether it's our ideas or vision or even ourselves, really. Cardone believes that mastering this kind of universal
It's
skill
universal, right?
is fundamental to reaching our full potential and achieving those ambitious goals.
And I think what's so compelling is his personal story about selling fish as a young man. And he really pinpoints this experience as a turning point where he realized the true power of persuasion, even in a seemingly ordinary transaction.
Oh, it completely shifted his perspective. And he
Yeah.
really advocates for us to apply that same lens to our own lives.
Like, from persuading your child to eat their vegetables or even pitching a project at work.
All selling, we're all engaged in it every single day.
I love that point. I've never considered it that way before. But he doesn't stop there. He introduces this fascinating concept of false data, these widely accepted beliefs that can actually hold people back from reaching their full potential.
He challenges common assumptions that we often just accept as truth, like the idea that owning apartment buildings is inherently a hassle or that partnerships are always destined to fail. He even debunks the myth that moving to California is a bad idea, using his own experiences as these kind of powerful counterexamples.
Makes you really wonder, what false data have we all internalized that might be hindering our own progress?
Right.
Whether it's about money, success, or even our personal beliefs, this concept of false data really encourages us to critically examine the information we've just accepted as truth.
Absolutely. Cardone contends that many of us are operating on outdated or inaccurate beliefs, and this is particularly true when it comes to sales. He tackles those common myths head on, dispelling the notion that sales is inherently sleazy or unreliable, or that it's solely about price.
And he really emphasizes the importance of distinguishing between professional and amateur sellers. And a key element of that is what he calls prediction, this idea that a professional seller can kind of anticipate outcomes based on their observation and experience.
Instead of just relying on hope or enthusiasm,
Mm.
it's a much more strategic approach. And he has this great anecdote about having a limited time to pitch to a group of millionaires. And because he had meticulously studied similar situations, he was prepared and knew exactly what to say and do, leading to a successful outcome.
Incredible. But it really begs the question, are we approaching our own goals and challenges with that mindset of a professional or an amateur?
Are we relying on prediction and preparation or just kind of hoping for the best?
It's a big difference.
It is a valuable distinction to make. And this leads seamlessly into another really fundamental principle Cardone presents, which is the importance of being completely sold on your product, your idea, or even yourself before you can effectively sell it to anyone else.
He calls this the most important sale and observes that a lot of salespeople experience what he calls the 90-day phenomenon. They achieve some initial success, but then it kind of dwindles.
Because their belief in what they're selling wanes over time.
They lose that fire.
Exactly. And he uses this thought provoking analogy of an unhappy husband who's essentially stopped selling himself on his wife's positive qualities. Cardone argues that we need to constantly reaffirm our strengths, even in personal relationships, to maintain that initial spark and excitement.
Powerful image, and it makes you think, what do we need to be more sold on in our own lives?
What aspects of ourselves, our values, our goals have we perhaps taken for granted?
Yeah, it's a crucial question to ponder. And while we're on the topic of things we might take for granted, Cardone directly addresses that common misconception about price being the main obstacle in sales.
He says it's rarely the real reason people don't buy.
And he backs it up with astute observations about how people spend their money. He's noticed that people readily spend on things they genuinely value or believe will solve a problem for them.
Think about luxury handbags.
Right.
They might seem overpriced, but if they convey a certain status or exclusivity, people will happily pay a premium. The same principle applies to those miracle cures you see. Advertised desperation can outweigh logic.
He even tells a story about selling a house that was considered overpriced based on, market value, but its location was so desirable.
It was in a prime spot.
People were willing to pay more than anyone anticipated. Desire, in this case, trumped perceived value.
Cardone's point is that price often masks deeper concerns, things like fear, uncertainty, or maybe a lack of conviction in the product. By addressing those underlying issues, price becomes less of a barrier.
So instead of fixating on a price, he stresses the importance of genuinely connecting with the customer first, a principle he calls people over process.
He contrasts a negative experience he had with a computer salesperson who bombarded him with all this technical jargon versus a positive one where the salesperson actually took the time to understand his needs.
And the latter obviously secured the sale,
Of course,
because it reinforces the fact that people buy from people they like and trust.
building that rapport, establishing that human connection should precede any attempt to push a specific product.
Makes you think about times you've received exceptional customer service.
Yeah.
What made it stand out?
It was probably that personal touch, that feeling that someone genuinely cared about assisting you.
Absolutely. Okay, so now for a concept that might seem a little counterintuitive at first.
Get ready.
Cardone advocates for always agreeing with the customer.
Even when they seem to be mistaken.
Whoa.
His reasoning is that disagreement tends to breed resistance, whereas agreement fosters rapport and paves the way for influence.
So instead of arguing or contradicting, he suggests employing phrases like, "You're right, I understand," or "Let me see what I can do." It's about aligning with their perspective.
Not manipulating them, but understanding their reality, even if you don't fully share it. This approach enables you to guide them towards a solution that benefits both parties.
And I think this ties back into the whole false data thing we discussed earlier.
Because
Cardone emphasizes the need for proof to back up your claims, to overcome that skepticism.
he is a firm believer in using written materials, testimonials, any kind of concrete evidence you have to support your assertions. It's a show, don't tell approach.
Especially in today's digital age, where everyone's looking at online reviews.
Data-driven decisions.
Credibility is key.
It is.
So how can we bolster our own credibility within our respective fields?
What evidence do we have to back up our ideas or expertise?
Those are excellent questions.
And alongside proof, Cardone proposes another really compelling principle: give, give, give.
Give.
He advocates for this abundance mentality.
And he's not just talking about like discounts or freebies, right?
It's much broader than that. It's about offering options, providing valuable information, delivering exceptional service, just maintaining a positive attitude throughout.
He uses his own software program, a pencil, as an example. It empowers clients in the auto industry with so much information up front to help them make informed decisions.
It's about exceeding expectations and demonstrating generosity in all your interactions, whether professional or personal.
It challenges us to consider how we can be more giving in our own everyday lives. What can we offer that goes above and beyond?
Exactly. And this segues perfectly into Cardone's signature principle, which is massive action. He's all about going above and beyond, exceeding what's considered necessary to achieve success.
He talks about the 10x rule, this idea that you should aim 10 times higher than what seems reasonable,
Because it forces you to stretch your limit.
to really put in the effort.
It's about relentless effort and unwavering persistence in the face of setbacks. It's understanding that action is the antidote to fear.
So what area of our lives demands more action from us?
What's holding us back from taking that leap?
Remember, even small steps taken consistently can yield extraordinary results.
Especially when combined with massive effort. And in the book, Cardone actually delves deeper into these ideas, offering this blueprint for success through what he calls the professional salesperson's daily commitments.
Oh, interesting.
It reads like a manifesto, blending those mindset shifts we've been talking about with really actionable steps.
Like consistently working the plan.
Yes, exceeding expectations, maintaining laser focus on your goals.
It's all connected.
And there's this one idea I found particularly compelling. He reframes success as not just a choice, not just a job.
But as an ethical duty.
Yes, it's powerful stuff.
He's really urging us to embrace success as like a non-negotiable part of our identity.
And I appreciate that he doesn't shy away from the topic of failure.
He's very candid about that.
He is. He actually provides a framework for dissecting those instances where a sale doesn't materialize.
It's about introspection. No sugarcoating.
Exactly. Asking ourselves tough questions.
Like, where did I miss the mark?
Or what could I have approached differently? It's essential for growth.
Taking radical responsibility, not blaming external factors or making excuses.
Those things ultimately hinder growth.
And he acknowledges that even with all the dedication and the right mindset, challenges are inevitable.
They are part of the journey.
And he offers a wealth of advice on how to navigate some of those common hurdles you encounter in sales.
For sure.
I mean, one that really stood out to me was his perspective on dealing with negative environments.
Surround yourself with the wrong people. And
It can really impact you.
he says you can't let that negativity drag you down.
You got to protect your mindset.
Cultivate that positive and proactive outlook, which I'll admit can be tough when you're surrounded by naysayers and negativity.
For sure. And his view on competition is really captivating. He boldly proclaims, competition is for sissies.
Wow. Okay, strong words.
I know, right? But he's basically saying, don't just aim to be slightly better than others in your field.
Aim for dominance.
Render comparisons irrelevant by delivering such exceptional service, by creating so much value.
It makes you think differently about the whole game.
He tells this anecdote about a client who was considering a different vendor for a better price.
Looking for a bargain.
And Cardone's response was so bold. He said, I don't come with that transaction.
He's so confident in his value proposition.
It showcases the unique value he provides, which justifies his pricing.
It's not about being the cheapest, it's about being the best.
Exactly. Now let's talk about something that can be a real elephant in the room for many in sales, and that's rejection.
Especially with things like cold calling.
Prospecting, all of that.
It can be brutal. But Cardone advises against taking it personally.
Detach your ego from the outcome.
View a no as simply feedback, not a reflection of your self-worth.
It's an opportunity to learn.
Refine your approach. He actually suggests analyzing those rejections.
To extract those lessons.
Exactly. Maybe it's about tweaking your pitch, targeting a different demographic, or simply being more persistent.
Speaking of persistence, he has this great advice about what to do when people don't return your calls.
Oh, that's a tough one. We've all been there.
He says, don't overthink it. Just keep reaching out and try different approaches.
Mix it up.
Exactly. Because someone not being interested today doesn't mean they won't be interested tomorrow.
And he cautions against making the client feel at fault for not responding.
Right. It's not their responsibility to return your call.
It's your responsibility to keep that conversation flowing, to demonstrate that proactivity, which is so crucial in Cardone's philosophy.
And that ties back into the massive action principle we were discussing earlier.
And all comes
But
together.
you can't passively wait for opportunities. We have to create them
Put yourself out there.
consistently. But Cardone recognizes that this can be pretty daunting for a lot of people.
Putting yourself out there can be scary.
He calls fear an indicator of those things you have to confront.
So lean into it.
He actually believes that action is the best way to conquer fear.
Face it head on.
Identify those professional fears and confront them directly.
Don't let them hold you back.
His perspective on fear is fascinating. He doesn't deny its existence, but he sees it as this catalyst for growth.
I like that.
Me too. This leads to another interesting aspect of sales, and that's managing emotions, particularly the emotions of your clients.
Oh, that can be tricky.
He emphasizes staying calm, staying rational, even when clients are having these emotional outbursts.
Which can happen.
He actually sees them as a potential indicator that you're making progress toward a sale.
Interesting. How so?
He likens it to guiding clients through turbulent waters. You wouldn't abandon ship when you encounter rapids, right? You'd navigate them skillfully.
I see. Stay the course.
And he stresses the importance of not taking those emotional reactions personally.
They're not always directed at you specifically.
Often they're coming from the client's own internal struggles, their anxieties.
It's about detachment.
Composure, especially when other people are losing theirs.
It's a valuable skill, not just in sales, but in life.
Absolutely. Cardone then dives into what he sees as some of the essential traits of truly exceptional salespeople.
The ones who really excel.
He highlights qualities like professionalism, empathy, persistence, a positive attitude, and a genuine desire to help others.
It's about more than just closing deals.
He shares an anecdote about a salesperson named Gavin, who embodies these characteristics. Always impeccably dressed, always positive, always focused on delivering outstanding service.
Sounds like a role model.
But what's crucial is that these qualities are genuine, not just some acts.
People can spot insincerity a mile away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that ties into another key point Cardone makes.
Which is,
Active listening,
oh, crucial.
asking insightful questions, taking the time to understand your client's
It
needs.
shows you care.
And even when you encounter a question that you can't immediately answer,
You guys all been there.
it's how you respond that matters. Instead of admitting ignorance,
Don't just say, I don't know.
Offer to find the information. Show that you're willing to go the extra mile.
Position yourself as a valuable resource, a problem solver.
Exactly. So, moving on, Cardone then shifts his focus to expanding your network.
Generating those leads.
He really emphasizes proactive networking, getting out there, meeting new people, forging connections. He recounts how he even met his wife, Elena, demonstrating this persistence and creativity in his approach.
Even when initially she wasn't responding.
Persistence is key. He talks about finding common ground, asking engaging questions, showing genuine interest in others.
Building authentic relationships.
Not just resorting to those pushy sales tactics.
It's about human connection.
He encourages us to view every interaction as a potential working opportunity.
Wow, that's a shift in perspective.
The possibilities really abound when we actively engage with life. He suggests starting small, noticing commonalities.
Use them as conversation starters.
Exactly. Break the ice, initiate dialogue, see where it leads.
It's all about taking that first step.
He advocates for a proactive approach. Don't wait for those connections to magically appear.
Seek them out.
And he provides specific tips on how to approach potential prospects confidently without being aggressive.
Like what?
A smile, a word of thanks for their time, a firm handshake.
Simple but effective.
It's about creating that positive first impression, conveying your enthusiasm,
Setting the stage.
and staying true to Cardone's overarching philosophy.
Massive action.
He encourages us to translate those interactions into action, right? He suggests a daily checklist, making calls, sending emails, showcasing your product.
And ultimately, closing those deals.
He views this as a game, constantly striving for improvement,
Gamification.
which can be motivating, and it's also a really effective way to track your progress.
Measure your results.
Finally, Cardone wraps up with insights on managing your time and your attitude.
Two absolutely crucial elements for success.
In anything, really.
Not just in sales, in life. He argues that we all have the same amount of time,
24 hours in a day.
but it's how we utilize it that really makes the difference.
And he encourages us to be ruthless about eliminating those time-wasting activities.
What are you doing that's not serving your goals?
He uses an example of having lunch with a coworker who he realized never bought anything from him.
Missed opportunity.
He recognized that as a waste of potential time that he could have been using to connect with clients, with prospects.
Makes you rethink those lunch breaks.
He actually proposes a rule. If you're not dining with clients or prospects, use your lunch break to make sales calls
Stay in the zone.
from your office.
Maximize every minute.
He also stresses the importance of being present and engaged during those interactions. Don't check your phone. Don't let your mind wander.
Stay focused.
He uses the mantra, use every moment to sell.
I love that.
It's about consistently looking for those connections, building relationships, planting seeds for future sales. It's like he's saying we should always be on, always looking for opportunities.
He is.
Mhm.
And that's where attitude comes into play, big time. Cardone really emphasizes that a genuine positive attitude can outweigh any product or service you're offering.
He goes as far as to say people will pay more for an agreeable, positive, and enjoyable experience than they will for a great product.
Interesting.
And he uses this example of a valet he encounters regularly.
Okay.
He says he tips this valet generously every time, even though he could easily park his own vehicle.
He just appreciates the service.
He does it because of the valet's consistently cheerful demeanor, his friendly interactions.
Highlights the power of that emotional connection.
Totally. People are drawn to those who exude confidence and make them feel good.
Makes sense.
But what about when you're faced with negativity?
That can be draining.
Cardone says, the ability to be positive at all times, whether you're winning or losing, is the one thing that will ensure you're a winner in the end.
Powerful statement. How do you maintain that positivity when you're surrounded by negativity?
Well, he offers some practical strategies, like surrounding yourself with positive people.
Avoiding the negative ones.
Exactly. And treating negative talk like clutter that you need to clear out. He even talks about going on a negativity diet.
Interesting.
It's about recognizing that our attitude is ultimately a choice,
And a powerful one at that.
and one of the most important choices we can make. Throughout the book, Cardone consistently reiterates that these principles aren't just for salespeople. They can really permeate every aspect of our lives.
He's saying it's bigger than just a profession.
He argues that we're always selling ourselves in some capacity,
Whether we realize it or not.
in our relationships, in our career paths,
In our interactions with everyone around us.
whether it's vying for a promotion at work or maybe trying to persuade your partner to try a new restaurant.
Or even just making a good impression at a party.
All of it. These principles apply.
So it boils down to confidence, clear communication, a genuine interest in connecting with others.
And Cardone, as this advocate for continuous self-improvement, really encourages ongoing learning,
Yeah.
practice, refining your skills.
It's an ongoing process.
He says, I commit to educating myself every day. I commit to training every day. He embodies that commitment to lifelong personal growth.
Leads by example.
And he's also a huge proponent of using social media
For sales.
for building your brand, connecting with potential clients. He says, social media is a way for you to connect, prospect, and make yourself known to those who may have an interest in what you represent.
He's embracing the digital age.
He is. He even shares anecdotes about how he's used it to promote his own businesses.
Darned.
But he also acknowledges the potential downsides, like negative reviews,
Yeah.
online reputation management.
That can be tough to navigate.
He encourages proactivity, monitoring those online mentions, responding constructively to criticism.
Don't just ignore it.
He draws this parallel between online reputation and your personal reputation. Like,
Right.
you wouldn't just ignore an insult hurled at you in person.
So don't ignore it online.
He also suggests using social media to highlight positive feedback, showcase your
So
accomplishments.
shift that narrative.
Exactly. So to wrap up all this amazing information, I thought it would be helpful to distill Sell or Be Sold down to 10 core principles that listeners can start applying today.
I like it. Let's hear those 10 principles.
Number 1, recognize that selling is everywhere. Everyone's doing it, whether consciously or not.
We're all salespeople.
Number 2, challenge those assumptions. Think critically. Be wary of that false data.
Question everything.
Number 3, approach everything with a processional mindset. Learn to anticipate outcomes.
Be that predictor.
Number 4, believe in yourself. Establish that unwavering conviction in your own value.
So sell yourself first.
Number 5, remember, price is rarely the main issue. Focus on addressing those deeper concerns and creating genuine value.
Value over price.
Number 6, always prioritize people over processes. Build authentic connections.
Human connection is key.
Number 7, master the art of agreement. It's a powerful tool for building rapport.
Agree to influence.
Number 8, establish trust through evidence. Back up your claims.
Proof over promises.
Number 9, embrace an abundance mentality. Go above and beyond. Exceed those expectations with generosity.
Give, give, give.
And finally, number 10, take massive action. Be relentless in your pursuit of your goals.
Action conquers fear.
Those are Cardone's 10 Commandments of Sales, offering a roadmap for success in any area of life.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful, offering a fresh perspective on selling.
Before we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with a thought-provoking question. While Cardone focuses primarily on professional selling, how can you, as a listener, apply these principles to enhance your everyday interactions?
How can you use these techniques to improve your relationships, your career, even your hobbies?
It's about recognizing the power of persuasion and using it intentionally for positive outcomes.
Intentionality is key.
This exploration has given me a lot to think about. I highly recommend checking out Sell or Be Sold for a deeper understanding of Cardone's concepts.
And remember, the most important sale you'll ever make is convincing yourself of your own boundless potential.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, may your sales acumen flourish.